Mediocre Hobbies Podcast, Episode 9. Previews and how we choose and start a new army project.
Hey guys, welcome to Episode 9 of Mediocre Hobbies Podcast with me, Tom Landy, and Mr. Mediocre Hobbies himself, Andy.
Hello.
This week on the show, we're going to discuss the 40k reveals that were last weekend. And also, we're going to talk about something that was requested in the YouTube comments last week, which is how we go about starting a new 40k army. We kind of go into it in too much detail, but we'd love your feedback later on. How are things your end?
Good. Yeah. Once again, it's been a week.
Yeah, you've had quite a week though. Like, you've had a giant.
I have had a giant, and a tank and a board and a podcast and some screamers and
Yeah, quiet week then.
Yeah. 6 videos this week. Last week.
Yeah, that's not too bad, I guess.
Nah, it's about average. I don't want to overwork myself. 6 videos is enough.
I mean, yeah, they're good videos. I really like your screamer.
It's filth, isn't it? It's just
so simple.
I actually did that same technique with a friend of mine who I shan't name just in case I don't want to name weird people. But they were sitting in the shop one day and they were playing Screamer and he was just like that putting, I don't think it was before contrast, it was like inks and, not inks, but, shades.
Washes,
He
yeah.
put loads of random washes on to get like a really colourful. And he was like, this looks crap. I'm really not happy with that. And I was like, just dry brush Paraxi
Just
white
dry
all
brush
over
it, yeah. That's
and
all you
he's
need
like,
to do.
what are you talking about? What do you get him dry brush white over? And I was like, just do it. And he just like got one brush stroke in. He was like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's fine. You're good.
Do you still, like, I definitely struggle with this. Do you still struggle with how the paint is a different color when it dries? Like, how often do you put a layer on something or dry brush something with the color and you're like, God, that looks terrible. And then 15 minutes later, the color has faded a bit when it dries and it suddenly looks amazing.
Yeah, I struggle with it a small bit, not a huge bit. I'm kind of good these days, but it is that thing of trusting the color a little bit more than you think. If you're like looking at the pot and you're like, that's about the right color, and you apply it. Like I have gone to this, like I have like put 2 brush strokes of paint on a model before. I'm like, no, that's not the color. And like rinse your brush off and then wash it off the model really quick because you panic. And then realistically, it probably was the right color. You just didn't trust it when it dried.
I was in Games Workshop in Belfast,
Mm-hmm.
and it's hard to find a bad kit that was released since like 2010.
No. There's some that when they come out, I can see them being Marmite immediately.
Yeah.
I can see how somebody wouldn't like that. Now, I like it, but I can see why somebody might not. And like I saw as soon as Votan released, I was like, some people aren't going to like these, and some people are going to go nuts for them.
I built mine this week, and they're all now sprayed Wraithbone.
They're so much fun. I'm like got like one painting session left to finish off my box.
Yeah.
So I'm delighted.
I'm considering, I've got them in my hand right now, Black Templar as the kind of, what's the word for it? Overalls, maybe? The kind of under armor?
Yeah, I used to call it, like, their undersuit or boiler suits or whatever.
Yeah, that's a good word. Yeah, boiler suit's a good word. And then I'm going to go Frostheart on the armor.
Interesting.
And then I think I'm going to use orange as like a highlight pop color.
Okay.
Go down a real kind of blue, but like an industrial orange to kind of match it. So
Yes.
I'm going to give it a go.
It is quite the plan. You'll be great. They'll look great. They'll be fantastic. I haven't seen you paint anything bad in years.
Well, I just don't post pictures of it.
I know. I don't see what you paint. That's why I said it.
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, I appreciate that. Right, so that's enough of that mess. I was really interested in the last week how we had a conversation, and then Games Workshop did a meta watch video and basically had the same conversation we did about we don't normally change things before the books come out. We normally just leave it till the whole army's out and let it settle for a bit.
Yeah.
Somebody changed it, didn't they?
Yeah, they're sneaky like that. Tell you, somebody in head office is watching me. Somebody's keeping it.
I got to say, like, it's almost impossible right now to build a Leagues of Votan army that I'm happy with.
Yes.
Like a week ago.
Yes.
Well, Wednesday. I sat down Wednesday. I was sat in nothing to do, so I had the 40k app, and I did a Leagues of Votan army. I had everything I wanted in the army.
Yes,
I didn't put the Chthonian Berserkers because I don't like the models as much as the rest.
I understand that entirely.
Yeah, it's just half nude. Like,
Yeah,
give
I
me
get
full
you.
armor with the weapons, I'm happy.
Yeah.
But I built the list, very happy with the list. And then it was like I still had 150, 200 points. And I was like, well, I don't want them, but I can add them in. It's fine.
Did you have a land fortress in yet?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I
Wow,
won
yeah.
Land Fortress, 2 of the Sagittars.
Love that.
This is back to what I was saying a few weeks ago. I kind of want to talk about this. One of the questions we had on the last YouTube video was, how do you build a 40k army? So I kind of want to talk about the general thing about what I do when I'm building an army. So this is kind of where I want to go. But I want to have everything. I want to have as much as I can, especially when it's a new army. So like when I see all the new Imperial Guard Astra Militarum from this week, I just want to have all the new stuff. And yes, there's loads of old stuff in there, and that's cool as well. But I want all the new stuff.
We've seen half of the Imperial Guard.
Yeah, it's real good. Like, just they're just so
give
good.
It to me. Like when I left, I bought 5 or 6 or 7 boxes of Cadians.
Yeah,
because I wanted to have a Cadian force as well. And it's the whole thing of like, I bought Cadians loads before, but I've never bought them when they had that extra sprue put in.
Well, that's what I was going to say. And these guys are so much better.
Yeah, but I still want to. What am I going to do with the old ones? I got to build and paint them still, I think, because they're still gorgeous.
Yeah, well, they're not as good as these. But I mean, that's the same, right? It's like when we get new Catechins, they're going to be the best models ever made.
Yes. All the characters they've given us are the best models.
I know, right? They're so good. They're so good. But give us an actual force. Like, it's just going to be.
Yeah.
It is. It's going to be great. But like that, those kits are absolutely. I couldn't stop looking at them the other day. Just the standard, whatever the standard guardsmen that were shown off. Like, yeah, they're just quality. And those big guns are great.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want the big guns, but every time I look at them, I realize how small the guys are next to them, and then I'm like, I desperately want that big gun. And I don't know who said it, but they're on 100mm bases.
Yeah.
Which
is my thing. By the way, they copied me again.
That's mind blowing. That it's that big, 100mm base. That's like not far off a Greater Demon.
Yeah, well, like I built all of my, because remember Krieg already.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they have the medium-sized artillery pieces.
Have you got them on Valkyrie bases or 100mm bases?
I've got them on 100mm bases because they're not supposed to be on bases, so I put them on 100mm bases.
No, of course, yeah.
And
you did all the.
They look so good on it. Yeah, all the duck boards and stuff. I totally agree with you. The guns are a bit. I think the guns are absolutely ace, and I will.
I think they're quality.
So. I'm not mad on the new version, the mortar thingy.
The missile launcher one.
You know, like the multi-barrel mortar thingy. That's not the one that like grabs me. I'm not like, I want loads of them. But then when I see them built with like the big gun shield and like the big, I think they're probably like the battle cannons on the thorax, like mini battle cannons and stuff like that, where they just look like big howitzers. I'm like, sold. I will have many of these, please.
Yep.
Give me all of them.
Yep. Was there anything about the reveals last week that you thought was meh or not interesting?
No, like I was super sold on. Oh yes, there was actually. There was.
Go on.
There was something that I was just like, because I don't like them, and this is a personal thing. Okay, nobody get out to me in the comments, but I don't think Space Marines should be riding around top of juggernauts. I think it looks stupid. I've never liked demon engines, to be honest. They've never clung to me. I've never loved the look of Mauler Fiends or Hell Drakes or any of that kind of stuff.
So we completely disagree. I also dislike all those models, but I love the idea of demon engines. I think demon engines are the single best thing that they ever did, and they just the models like the new one, the spider model is absolutely
He's unreal.
But all the old stuff is just like it's almost
Not
like
great.
King Charles's fingers. You know, they're all like a bit stubby and a bit chunkier than you'd like, but they were the best they could do at the time.
Yeah. And like I'm reading the Heresy now, obviously, and I'm reading what a world eater is and how terrifying a world eater is on foot running at you. And I just can't take him seriously riding on top of a giant mechanical rhinoceros.
Yeah.
I'm just like, wow.
And I also think it's an absolutely excellent model, but I don't see world eaters riding them.
No. I don't think they have the like sense, the intelligence to be like they've lost all that like sense of reason and planning and forethought and what day did that thing just like appear on the deck of his ship and he was like, I'm going to mount and ride that into battle.
I don't know how much time you spent looking at it. I've spent about up until right now about 15 seconds. So I've opened the website. I'm looking at it now. I've zoomed in. He definitely looks more like a possessed on the Demon Engine. His helmet has kind of got a corn symbol made of horns, so it kind of looks as though he's like been augmented, and so he's riding. Oh, I've just noticed I don't like this, Andy. The top of the Juggernaut's head is now a chainsword. I do not like that.
Yeah. Chainsword rhinoceros.
That I don't like. Yeah, I don't like that. That's. Hopefully, it'll come with an option. I do not like just a chainsword there, but I think it's cool. I mean, I'm famous last words. I am not going to buy World Eaters when they come out.
Oh, I am.
No.
And I will buy boxes of rhinoceroses and paint them up.
Yeah, of course you will.
Because my collection need just has to scratch all the itches, do all the things. And that's fine. I accept my fate, and I accept that I'm a walking contradiction. And you know what? It'll probably be that thing that when I build and paint them, I'll be like, oh, they're kind of cool, never mind. And hope nobody says that and they're asking me, do I like them now? Because I have to be like, actually, they're really cool. As for like if I looked at that old model.
Oh my God, don't. I know. I've just clicked off the page because he's that bad.
It's that whole thing of like, what person in head office looked at like, guys, you know what we need to do? We need to update that model. That's the model we need to make a new one. Or you could not, just as a core rule. You could pretend that you never did that.
Yeah. And ironically, I think they updated the model and put less spikes on it, which is a very interesting thing to do for a core model. But I like the release schedule. I think it's just, I felt like what was the 35th anniversary of 40K just didn't, like, I mean, it was fine. Everything they showed off was brilliant. I just don't think it stood up to the hype. I think I said it to you on one of our first recordings, like they did a Sunday release schedule or something, and it was at the same time as like a Nova Open or something, so it was 2 a.m.
Yeah.
And they showed off some stuff, and I was like, there was no reason for anyone to go in on a Sunday to do that. Never mind Sunday at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
Like that. This at least was a decent preview, but I just felt like had they brought out that Space Marine stabbing the orc on Saturday and showed it off at the reveal,
so
and said you can order it immediately.
Like, here's the orc. He's now on the website.
Yeah, like that. And then it would have been like, holy shit, that's why you spent the whole week building up with all these how to paint original models and how to do this and how to do that.
See, that would be a really big way to make sure all future things. Imagine if it was like,
Yeah.
It was the first thing they showed off and was like, this model's going to be available to order while this hour-long podcast episode.
Oh my God, can you imagine?
Imagine how many people would tune into the next one.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's, I don't think they could ever do that because they do not pay enough money for their web store, because we know that because every time they release a box like Black Templars,
it explodes.
Web store goes down for a day. Like it's the worst.
It explodes, yeah.
Yeah, and
we had a really bizarre thing. A really bizarre thing happened in the stores over the last year before I left, which was the stores got priority. So there was no queuing system inside stores. So people at home were like ordering like Black Library books, like the Horse Heresy limited books and stuff. And it was like they're sitting there waiting to hit refresh and they're in a queue. Didn't exist in stores. So it was like, just come down to the store, man. It's on the website 5 minutes before.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
And you pick your out, like nobody ever missed them in the shop, which is a really bizarre thing. Like
that's crazy. I mean, you would think they would promote that, but maybe that's because of COVID. They haven't.
Yeah, maybe it is, or maybe it's just that angry thing. I don't have a store near me, so they're going to get priority or whatever. There's always somebody that's unhappy with no matter what they do.
Always, and that's okay. People don't have to like stuff, but they should just shut up. I guess, like, I don't like good transitions, but this is definitely a good transition into a question that we got on the Mediocre Hobbies YouTube channel for the last podcast we posted, which was, how do you start a new 40k army? But I think I just want to have a general conversation about, how do you start a new army? What are you looking at? What are you thinking about? I know you've got everything already, but let's pretend, like Votan, something's new, or there's an event coming up and you're like, wow, I don't have exactly the right thing. So what are you thinking about? And I've got loads to talk about on this.
How about we do a really fun exercise I used to do in the shop?
Yep.
And that could maybe tie into it. So the idea was pick your least favorite army in 40k. What is your least favorite army in 40k?
Probably Tyranids. And it's only because I feel like my ideal Tyranid army is either 7 models or 750.
That's fine. Okay, that's fine. Okay. Now, if you had to do a Tyranid army, what would it look like?
Well, it depends what I'm doing it for.
That plays into the question, though. Okay, so now you're talking about like picking an army. You need to know what it's for. So what is the criteria for, like, what are those criteria? Like you're like, what am I building it for? So like,
Yeah. So, but I'm looking at models and stuff. So I think primarily for me, I definitely said it last week. A thing for me is that constraint around army size, because I travel to play games. So I need both a small, physically small army to transport,
yes,
but also I need something that is effective at that small size. So I know, because I'm looking at the website right now, there is no way I could do a Tyranid army that would equal the model count of some of the armies I've done, but I could definitely do a Tyranid army that would equal the physical space of like my Chaos Knight army.
I get you. Yeah.
So I think without the book and everything else, I would probably end up with Hive Tyrant with detachable wings, maybe some current effects. Definitely, if I can take them as troops, Tyranid warriors.
You can, yeah.
I don't know. Who knows?
Take
Definitely wouldn't.
Prime, yeah.
Definitely would not take a winged Hive Tyrant unless I could magnetize the wings on somehow in a way that would work, because I just physically couldn't take them.
Design one. You know, you're a crazy converter, man. Just make them all furled up behind his back.
I'm really lazy these days, Andy. Really lazy. Like the things like the crone, I just couldn't take, again, because they're too big. I couldn't really take is it Tyrannocyte, the drop pod looking thing?
Tyrannocyte, yeah.
Tyrannocyte, yeah. Couldn't really take that because it's just too big. Gargoyles as well.
That's not entirely true though, because you can build that landed, crashed into the ground. Like actually, as part of the kit, you can build.
Really?
You can build in three ways. One, it's up on a flying stand closed. One, it's up on a flying stand open, and one where the bottom of it's cut off and it's like on the base, so it's actually quite small.
Okay, fair enough. I trust you. But like that, those are the kind of initial constraints I would have straight away. So just looking at Tyranids and just looking at what is available in the range, I would have to. It's amazing how so many of these models are huge, but they're really small compared to some of the other ones, just from a 360 point of view.
Yes. Like Carnifexes are tiny. They're the size of a Redemptor Dreadnought now, so you could take 20 of them if you want to. They're litter. But back when we started playing, they were like someone deployed with them across the table. You were like, oh my God, what am I going to do?
Yeah, it's true.
Okay, so it is come down to like your needs. So most of the time when you're designing an army, you have to have a purpose. So a tournament, for instance, is something that pushes you towards constructing a force. Obviously, size constraint is one that never ever plays into my mind at all. And
I don't think a lot of people would even think of that. And I mean, you're obviously weird because you play a lot of your games at home. But I would say, like, if you think about, well, probably like I said last week, like 100% of people who play 40k don't play tournaments, because people who do are a rounding error.
Yeah,
I would say 100% of people who play 40k don't play at home as well, because probably at least 50% of those people who are playing games have had to travel.
Yeah.
So like the number of people who are like actually playing a game in their house is such a small number compared to the people who are their opponents and stuff. So I genuinely think like travel is such a major part of the games, and nobody ever thinks of it.
So I've had this debate with people before, especially when I used to work in the shop.
Yeah.
And I used to be like, well, like when a crazy big model like Mortarion or something comes out, and like people come with those comments, and they're like, how am I supposed to transport that? And I used to get like annoyed. I was like, not annoyed, but it used to bother me, because I was like, I really hope that the designers never take that into consideration.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I would hate for them to ever make a model less good, like that, not do 100%. Because like, oh well, old Jimmy there needs to bring her from point A to point B, so we better make it like 40% smaller and have no wings and be boring and crap like the old metal models were. You know what I mean? Like just.
But I'm also never going to buy
Mortarion.
I can get behind. I'm never going to buy Elariel, because one, there is a beetle bigger than any Tyranid model, and two, there is a crazy tall woman on top of it with her arms and legs spread. So like, again, I could build it in two separate pieces, but from a transportation point of view, that takes up the space of 3/4 of the rest of the army.
Yeah, I brought her to England in a case.
Yeah, because
she wasn't glued onto the beetle, because there's a big plug under her foot to plug her in. But she's a prime example. Until Catacross came out, she was my favorite model in all of Age of Sigmar. Like when she, like for years, if people ask me that question, what's your favorite model? Ariel by far. She's flawless.
So I have no issue with her. I think she is probably, in terms of what she's supposed to be, perfect. but she's absolutely not transportable. I completely forgot about her wings. Oh my god, I've just looked at her. Like the wings. And I know it's fixable with a few magnets and bits and pieces, but also I know how long it took me to get comfortable using magnets.
That breaks my soul. It genuinely breaks my soul when somebody looks at a model and goes, it's like, this is the best model ever, but I'm not buying it because I can't transport it. I'm like, oh, my heart, you're stopping yourself from enjoying that model. Yep,
I am. But not in a way that, like, I would just not include them.
Not include what?
Like a model like that. For my particular purposes.
Yeah.
So I could build a very good competitive army with Drycha instead, or Durthu, or something else, and just not include her.
Yeah.
And also she's like 900 points, and you get a free tree lord, so I could just take an additional tree lord for free, and I'd probably fit them in the same space as I would transport her. I might buy her and build her and paint her. Like, I've got Teclis. I'm never going to transport Teclis. He's just going to live in my house. But I've bought him and I own him and I love him. But
love to send you a picture of my turtle.
Oh my god, that's another one. And I love the Leviathan.
My turtle is on a huge base.
Gorgeous model. Gorgeous. But
the model starts 8 inches off the base, like then the model starts, and it's all glued and it's all stuck and it's all just one big giant obnoxious flying turtle. And I get it, I do understand the point of view, but I will never let that stop me doing anything. Like, I always feel like if you never stump your creativity, just figure out the other bits around you. You'll always figure out how to transport it if you really need to, kind of thing.
I understand, but I really like how absolutely on opposite sides of this argument we are.
Yeah, on the correct side and you're wrong. But yeah,
that's possible. That's definitely possible. Yeah. But I do find it interesting how that is something that I absolutely think about all the time when I look at an army.
Yeah.
And I know nobody else ever thinks about it, and it affects almost everyone.
Does it?
Yeah, because like I said, at least 50% of people are traveling to play games.
Yeah, a few magnets, big plastic container, laughing. But I suppose the difference is bringing it on a plane is a whole different kettle of fish.
Yep.
Which is what you're doing. You're traveling on a plane, which of course I wouldn't want to put it in a hold. So you've got to fit in hand luggage above your head.
Exactly.
And that would exactly make me nervous. There's no way I would ever put an army in a hold.
Nope, never.
So I think you're like the 1% of the 1% of the 1%, kind of like you're the...
Yeah, of course I am. But that is the thing I think about with every single army I do.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's... you can name any single army, and I have built an army. If I've built an army, obviously recently, I have built it with that in mind. And it is not in any way... I think the point that I'm making is that I could make any army work without some of these key models.
Yeah, I get that.
So what is your least favorite 40k army? I suppose from your side it might just be the looks, right? Because that's you have everything, I guess.
I don't really have a least. Do I have a least favorite? I don't know. I've got to have a least favorite. That's how favorites work.
Yeah.
Yeah. What would be my least favorite? Grey Knights would probably be my least favorite, actually. Yeah. They're like that. They're a little bit kind of.
And there's nothing wrong with them. I think Grey Knights are probably some of the coolest Space Marines out there, lore wise and everything else. But
I think they lost their specialness because they were oh my god, they're the most elite Space Marines in the galaxy. Here's some Custodes, right? So you're not the most elite. What are you the best at right now? No, nothing. Cool.
They're the best firstborn in the entire galaxy. They're the only firstborn left, apparently.
Yeah. They're There's a really cool bit in one of the lore books about them recently, which was Gulliman was going to commune with a demon because he wanted to get information.
Of course.
And he walks into a room and there's all his praetors and all his guard around and all that kind of stuff. And then a lift in the center of the room walked up and everything got cold and ice, sheeted up the walls. And I was like, oh, there's a demon coming up. And it was chained, and it was it had a Grey Knight holding the chain kind of thing. And it was one of those demon hosts, like a man with a demon inside him kind of thing. And this was Gulliman's one of his giant flotilla fleets of doom with 1 billion ships kind of thing, conquering the worlds. And he has the Grey Knight's like, I don't like this. They were not supposed to do this. And Gulliman's like, it's fine. We're going to do this. And he has the conversation. And he takes it a little bit too far. He shouldn't have talked so long, and he kind of risked a little bit, but he's Gulliman, so he doesn't really care.
Yep.
And then the Grey Knight was like, I will never allow that to happen again. And then the next day, Gulliman comes onto his ship and he's on to his bridge, report on the fleet for the day or whatever. And going through the report, oh yeah, and all the Grey Knights left. What? Yeah, they all left. They all just packed up and left.
Wow.
It's just that whole thing of like the Grey Knights sit outside the military hierarchy of like
Yes.
Guilliman can't order them to do anything. They do their job. He has no say in it kind of job. And I was like, that's so cool. But when that guy like rose up, they gave her like brilliant description of like how powerful he is and how dangerous he is. And we were just like, oh, yeah. I remember like that's what Grey Knights are supposed to be. They're supposed to be this amazing thing.
Yeah.
And they're just not.
Well, I'll give you one benefit to Grey Knight straight away. You could buy and own the entire range in about 20 kits.
In like 2 kits.
Like, well, no.
2 kits bought over and over and over again.
Between all the characters in the Dread Knight and the Space Marine vehicles that they can use, and
Okay,
like
here's
it's
another-
a very
here's an-
if you need to own everything, it's a pretty easy collection, which is a positive, I guess.
It's something. The new card they brought out is beyond gorgeous.
Which Castle and Crow,
Castle and Crow.
or
Oh my!
Voldus.
Voldus is nice too. Crow is
I know.
next level.
He's so good.
He's so tasty.
He makes the rest of the army look really bad.
Yeah, I made a conversion of a Primaris Grey Knight just to like make them bulked up and stuff. Made a video on it, I think, and the video was fine. It did well, but it's definitely like had an. I think the problem with them is the Stormbolters are so big
Yeah.
that they make the model look really small. Like some of the poses where they're like holding like the spears in 2 hands and stuff like that, and then you just see this huge big chunky gun in the middle of his chest, and you're like, oh, you look so bad. Just get rid of the guns, and they'd probably look really cool.
I think part of that is just they're from a bad era. Like when they were new, they were the best thing ever invented. And then about 6 weeks later, we were like, actually, they're a bit ham-fisted, aren't they?
They're a bit derpy, yeah.
Yeah. And then we got Primaris, and every time I see them in the flesh next to Primaris, I'm like, why not just? Why not just? Just why not? Just why not just?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so to ignore all that and go on to why I would construct an army.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So for me, I am, and I've said this before, a collector at heart. So the first thing that I will do is buy one of everything and build and paint one of everything.
Yep.
Because I want to have access to all the different things. So if I play 2, 3, 4 games with that army, I want the games to be all different and all, you know what I mean?
Yep.
If anyone's been following along with the battle reports that me and Dave done, the best example of that would be my Krieg. So I've used my Krieg maybe 5 times in the campaign, and every single time the army has been completely different. Different units, different characters, different artillery, and like I designed those specifically to fit a thematic. Like one of my favorite ones was the convoy, and nothing touched the ground, everything started deployed, and everything was really fast and mobile. Like I even just deployed it in a big line through the middle, like it was a convoy that got ambushed, and I was like, this is awesome. And of course, I start in a horrible position to get immediately assaulted by orcs on all sides. So I was like, this is so cool. So I buy one of everything and paint one of everything. And then when it's time to write a list, I would write a list using that. And then sometimes I'd be like, okay, I need another squad of this now because that's what I want in the army. Yep. Okay, I want another squad. I want another one of those tanks. And I want to, you know what I mean? That's the kind of thing that I will do. Like, for instance, I will buy all of the Votan. So I've got the box set on all of the Votan.
Yep, of course.
And then after that, I know I'm going to buy one more infantry squad. So I have 3. And another one of the small tanks. So I have the 2 tanks to do the whole 10-man split into 5 and do that.
Yep.
And I'm fairly sure I won't need any more Votan. That'll be my collection, and I can build 2,000 point armies out of that. I might buy more of the exosuit guys because I'm taking the red ones, and it's like their whole story is they're the ones that make those, so they have a larger quantity than other people.
Yep.
So I might want to do some funky lists with loads of Terminators and stuff. Yeah, it's genuinely just picking from everything, if that makes sense. It's not about going to a tournament like you. It's not about planning like a list and then buy. I understand that the most sensible thing to do is to build a list that you like, and then buy and build and paint that list. That makes the most financial sense. I get it, and I know that that is the sensible way to do it. But because I'm the stupid card, like we talked about with the Juggernauts earlier, I'll buy them because I want the completion sake. I want to look at a shelf. Like I would want someday to have a big studio, like a much bigger studio, and it'd be like walking into the Warhammer World Museum.
Yeah.
I want someone to walk up to a cabinet and be like, oh, is that what all of Votan looks like? Yeah, that's every model Votan ever released. Oh, wow, cool. I've never seen that model before and everything. It's like, that's my wackadoodle dream. Like it's why I own every Tumkey model and every Bretonnian model that ever came out, because I want someday in 20 years time for someone to be like, what the hell are those? I'm like, oh, they're Bretonnians. They used to exist in old Warhammer and they used to do this, and like the book be in the cabinet too, and someone would be like, can I have a look at the old book? Yeah, sure, go for it. If you want to follow Mediocre Hobbies, you can follow me under that name, Mediocre Hobbies, on Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, Twitter, Reddit, most importantly, YouTube. I'm everywhere. Think of social media, I'm on it under the name Mediocre Hobbies. So yeah, follow along.